awake, alert, and enthusiastic, right? All right, so we are going to talk about log analytics. We've done some monitoring before, but we're talking specifically about log analytics, monitoring, and auto scale. So we do a lot, there's a lot of lab that we have for this particular one, so we'll see. All right, so what is log analytics? So we're going to create some dashboard so you can visualize all your saved log searches and giving you the ability to find, correlate, and share IT operational data in the organization. So we're going to do a bunch of tutorials on these things. We're going to create a shared dashboard in the Azure portal. We're going to visualize performance log search. We're going to add a log search to share dashboard. We're going to customize the tile share dashboard. So there's a lot of different things that we're going to do. Before even we can do that, there's other things that we need to do. So Microsoft, when we create the Azure, Microsoft has a built-in tool. So Microsoft said, well, we don't want you to have to go to somewhere, another application, another place to get your monitoring. So back in old days, we have, different types of performance monitoring tools, but those are additional tools that they're not on in one place. So with Azure, we had we put in a bunch of built-in monitoring tools to maximize the availability and performance of your application, and also understanding that where is your bottleneck? Where is the things are getting, need more memory, or where is eating up all your resources, memory or CPUs, that kind of thing. So really to give you a better understanding, and specifically log analytics is more if you try to troubleshoot any type of applications. And we wanted to be proactively making sure that we don't want to get a call, depend on, they're going to say, well, system is crawling, we're getting slow. We don't want any of those. So I'm going to show a bunch of diagrams to tell you more about how Azure Monitor works. So the data stores, matrix, and logs, which are two fundamental types that we use success of monitoring the data and that populate those data stores. Azure Monitor is a collected data such as analysis, altering, and streaming to external systems. You can also use Azure Monitor to monitor not just Microsoft products, not within Azure. You can also monitor on-premises third-party vendors, which is pretty cool. Monitor means monitor and everything, right? So in this particular, we're talking log analytics. Here we have different tools within Azure Monitor. For application level, you can monitor the applications, you can monitor the operating system level, as well as you can monitor Azure resources. Everything that we create within Azure is an Azure resource. We can also monitor the subscription. If your organization have multiple subscriptions, most organizations will. You can also monitor Azure Tenant. And also the biggest good thing is that we can also monitor custom sources and stuff, so which is pretty cool stuff. There are two ways that the monitoring will work, either as a matrix or a log. So you've seen the application insight. We've seen a little bit of that in previous modules we did. Insights, we can monitor the application insight, container insight, your VM insight, and monitoring solution insight. So insight gives you a more detail about, your logs. So pretty much insight is giving us logs saying, doesn't mean that necessarily anything is wrong. It's just saying that this application is taking how long, and what time, within the 24 hours. What's your peak time? What's your load time? So all kinds of information that more than you need, and you can kind of query it based on what you're looking for. However, keep that in mind that if you're using any type of log, your system is growing. Logs create a lot of records, a lot of data is growing, so you got to make sure that you only turn the logs on if you need it, and if you're going to keep it turned on, you need to make sure that there's a way you can store the logs in a storage or somewhere instead of storing in a VM, because we talked about that. Storage is the most cheapest service in Azure. So Azure Monitor, we can monitor pretty much anything on Azure, right? Everything in Azure is an object. We can monitor pretty much every object in Azure. Visualize, you can also create a visualization stuff like reports with Power BI. We did some of those workbooks, dashboards, and views. And we can also analyze. Of course, we talk about this all the time. Data means nothing to us unless we can analyze the data. If we cannot analyze the data, data mean nothing to us, right? So we can analyze the data, and there is a matrix analytics and log analytics. We'll talk more about log analytics today. And based on when you analyzing data, we also have a response. Depends on what's going to happen, depends on what you find out in these monitoring. You normally monitor because you wanted to avoid anything bad happen, so a system shut down or anything like that. So we can also create alerts. What alerts going to allow us to do is that, hey, when the CPU hits 75%, notify these 4 people. Also, alerts can also create actions. So automatically you can scale up and down. Say, well, when my CPU hit 80%, go to the next level in the pricing. So if we were in a B1, basic one, which only have like 3.6 gigabyte. The next one will be B2, let's say 7 gigabyte memory. So you can auto scale it based on what you find. So those are things that we'll do a little bit today. We'll do the alerts, we'll create the auto scale. And you can integrate with Logic Apps and export those APIs to any other applications or any other environment that you do development in. So a lot of cool stuff. And as I said, these are all built in, so nothing that you have to install or anything like that. So all data collected by Azure fits into one or two fundamental types. Either we're talking about there's only matrix and logs. So matrix give you a little bit more different kinds of data, and logs contain different kinds of data to organize it. So matrix and logs give you two different perspectives on whatever you're trying to monitor. For most of other Azure resources, you will see data collected by Azure Monitor right in that overview page in Azure portal. You can look at the virtual machines. You can see several charts, displaying performance matrix, all of those. You can click any of those to open the data and also Matrix Explorer in the Azure portal, which these are things that we'll do today. Multiple matrix over time. You can view the chart interactively or pin them to a dashboard. If you're very concerned about make sure that you're monitoring your application because you're concerned about your application performance, it was always good to make sure that you put it on the dashboard. So as soon as you log in, and if you stay logged in, you're going to see it, and it is real time. Anything changes, you will see the changes on your dashboard as well for visualization. And if that's your concern, then that's what you should do on making sure that. So this is talking about Matrix Explorer. It tells you exactly. We'll go through these and do some of these labs in here to how to filter it to see what you're looking for. It all depends on what you're trying to look, what are you looking for, and performance are you looking, or are you looking to see what the resources in a particular query is taking all the resources, all that kind of stuff, or if you're having any type of deadlocks, all kinds of things that you can look at. Log data is what collected by Azure. You can analyze it with queries, which we'll do today. Quickly retrieve, consolidate, and analyze that. You can create and test a query using Log Analytics Azure portal. Directly analyze the data using these tools to save queries for use with visualization or alert rules. This QSTO query language is used by Azure Data Explorer. It's very similar to SQL, but it has a little bit of different syntax in there, which we'll get to do some of those. You can quickly learn the query language using multiple lessons, particular guidance. Who are already familiar with SQL and SP line. It is very close to SQL statement. However, there are a few different. But I just want you to know that there's QSTO languages out there, and make sure we'll get to play with it today. And if you wanted to know all the commands on those, you could go to Azure documentation site, which I gave you the links before. You can look at those as well. So this is what we'll do today, is looking at the log analytics. Log analytics is going to analyze the data that were stored in the log for us once we had that application inside turned on and creating the logs. So we'll get to play with those. So before we go and play with those, let's see what type of data that Azure Monitor collects. So it collects all the application monitoring data about performance, functionality of the code, regardless of platform. We can handle any type of code. Also, we can even monitor the guest operating system data. so operating system on which your application is running. It can be running in Azure, another cloud, or even on premises. So monitor collects a very, very good information above and beyond and out of even Azure. And Azure resource monitoring data, the data about the operation on Azure resources. Of course, we know that everything created within Azure is a resource. Also monitor all the Azure subscription data about the operation, management of Azure subscription, as well as data about the health and operation of Azure itself. And we also monitor Azure tenant. So tenant level Azure services such as Azure Active Directory is considered tenant. And we also monitor all those. So you can find out every time somebody add a new user to Azure Active Directory that to create alert rule that to notify you, or if somebody gets deleted out of Active Directory, you want to know that too. So however rules that you want to set up. But this is the 5 category. We break it down to what Azure Monitor collects. Custom sources. Azure also can collect, Azure Monitor can also collect log data for any REST client using Data Collector API. So this is more for developers. If you're interested, you can write a code for Data Collector API. There is a default template in Azure. You can create custom monitoring scenarios, extend the monitoring to resources that don't expose telemetry through other resources. So that's a custom source is very important. For most organizations, going to have something, you're going to have something more than other applications, more than Microsoft products. So Insight. So that's what application Insight monitoring is only useful if you can increase your visibility into the operation of your computing environment. So Azure includes several features, tools that provide valuable insight into your application. Other resources they can depend on monitoring solution features such as Application Insight and Azure Monitor for containers. So provide deep insight into different aspects of your application and specific Azure services. So Application Insight is, we saw some of those. We'll look at some Azure Monitor for containers as well. So Application Insight does monitor what? It monitors the availability, performance, the usage of the application, whether they're hosted either in cloud or on premises, or doesn't matter. It also leverages those powerful data analysis platform at Azure Monitor to provide you with a deep insight into your application's operation, diagnose errors without waiting for user to report them. So which is important. We wanted to make sure we prevent it or we see it before users reporting it. So Application Insight include the connection points to a variety of development tools and integrates with Visual Studio, support your DevOps processes as well. And DevOps is a tool that Microsoft just put and added to the Azure, new functionality. And DevOps is more as an application lifecycle, and it's talking in the application lifecycle. If you haven't seen DevOps, it would be good to go look at the DevOps and those hands-on lab and stuff. They are DevOps there. There is a DevOps hands-on lab there. So DevOps is an application that allows you to monitor the lifecycle of your application. It is using those agile methodology and say, okay, how many sprint you're going to have, how many resources you have for your project. So if you guys are more project-oriented, if you're a more project-oriented type of business, then DevOps would be a very good fit to implement DevOps in your environment as well. So this is kind of what images you can get within the Application Insight. Of course, it's going to be important to look at your data. If you're looking at your data, if you're looking at someone's, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you can see they are breaking down to more detailed about individual stuff. So you can look at Azure's homepage. It tells you what particular query is taking longer, when within the day, what time and date is your application is the most usage, when is the last usage. So you have all that information. Knowing when your application is busy and when your application is not busy is important, because in Azure, as you know, it is pay as you go. So if you know your application has very low usage between 3 to 5 p.m., then you can scale it down to save your costs. So that kind of thing. So it gives you all kinds of information. to run your application efficiently, pretty much to run every resources within Azure. And not only that, you have created the system, so well, okay, now I created the VM, pretty much, it's in God's hand. It's not like that. You wanted to make sure you know every aspect of the VM and what's running on the VM, when it's running, what type of is your SQL databases, using up the memory out on the VM, which application is using the VM when they are busy, which query is using up all your resources. So all that type of information. It depends on what you're trying to do, but all of these informations are very good information. And we also have Azure Monitor for Containers. That is to monitor the performance of container workloads. That's, if you're using Kubernetes clusters, this is what we create, if we create any containerized version of Log Analytics agent for Linux as well, so you can use all of these. I know we didn't do the container stuff because I don't think we talked about much of container, but we did create a storage. So when you create storage, you have four type of containers you can create, right? We can create blob, we can create table, we can create message, we can create queues. And I know we did a couple of storage creations. So that's what we're talking containers is. Containers are created within storage, and storage have four different type of containers. So you can manage those containers also and see which container is using a lot and why we are using AKS, which is Azure Kubernetes Service. It allows you to see all your visibility for your memory, processes, time, what application are within your container, what application is using the most memory, the most disk space, all that, and also performance-wise, how can we make our performance to faster or improve the performance? So every application always have a one of the goals is not just having the awesome application. You want to make sure that that application is running efficiently, right? So resource efficiently. So that's what Azure Monitor for Containers is going to give you, those type of information. And if you are planning to use a lot of container images, either we're using blob or tables or queues, you wanted to make sure that you have Azure Monitor for Containers set up. And this is again showing the containers, the log analytics for the containers. Very, very good information. Of course, you can also monitor our VM, and most importantly, you want to monitor the VM. Most of the most resource usage are in the VM. So we wanted to make sure that we scale the VM efficiently. We are not scaling it too low or scaling it too high. So you can monitor that as your virtual machine scale by analyzing the performance. So most of the VM, that's what you want to do, is that you wanted to make sure that you have a scale setup, which will do that based on the monitoring. Monitoring, like I was saying earlier, if you're hitting a CPU, most organizations will be 80. I normally prefer 70. If your CPU usage is 70% in your VM, in Azure VM, you want it to scale up. And if it's less than 50, you want it to scale down. So those type of things, you can set up all those. So the solution also, and there's many solutions within the monitoring tools that to include your support for monitoring performance and applications, dependencies, or VMs hosted on premises or another cloud provider as well. So there's a lot of good things you can do here. There's again showing a virtual machine monitoring tool, which we'll go in and do that today. So we'll get to do these in the lab environment. So we'll get to see that. Did I have 2 slides on this one? Maybe I hit the wrong. Monitoring solutions. So Azure monitors are package sets of logic that provide insight of a particular application. So pretty much packages has a bunch of tests in there, and those tell, okay, if this situation, what would we do? So they include the logic for collecting and monitoring the data, all the services. You can use queries to analyze that data, and view for visualization. Monitoring the solutions are available from Microsoft and partners to provide monitoring for various Azure services as well as other applications. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. So this is how, if you're looking at on the log analytics. We have Azure Directory Health Check. We have anti-malware assessment, Azure Backup Monitoring Solution, Application Insight, Application Azure Backup Monitoring Solution, copy, how many applications we have, the agent health, Azure Active Activity Logs. So we have agents, what agents doing, Azure Application Gateway, Azure SQL Analytics, Azure Network Security Group. All right, so we have, this is the view of our log analytics and last 24 hours. We'll play with all of those, responding to critical situations. So we're also monitoring just to make sure that we don't have critical situations to prevent them. But if also you need to make sure that even though when that type of situation happens, so when we are allowing the interactively analyzing the monitoring the data, if something goes wrong, what we're going to do? We need to respond to that, right? So this could be sending a text or mail to an administrator. This is another setting up alert is responding to the critical situation, or increasing the scale up or scale down based on the critical situation. You could launch an automated process attempts to correct an error condition. So you can also create a trigger to respond to that critical situation. Again, we will do those in there. So this is what we're talking about, alerts we need to set up. Alerts in the Azure Monitor is proactively going to notify you of critical conditions so you can prevent it before it goes down. We can set up alert rules based on matrix provide, near real-time altering, based on numeric values. So while rules based on logs allow for complex logic across data from multiple sources, alert rules in Azure Monitor use action groups, so which contain unique sets of recipients, and actions can be shared across multiple rules. So it depends on what you're trying to do, what we're trying to capture. Action group can perform such action as using webhooks to have alerts start external actions or to integrate with your ITSM tool. So there's a lot of good stuff that we're going to do. Today we'll try all these alerts in Azure Monitor. Tell you that severity level 0 means not bad. Severity 4 is bad. There's one smart group. We got 29 alerts, 15 alert rules. Okay, autoscale. Autoscale is that's what we're getting into, right? Autoscales allow you to have the right amount of resources running to handle the load on your application efficiently. Autoscale is very, very important. You don't want to have over or less. You want to make sure that you are using most efficient. So it allows you to create rules that use matrix collected by Azure Monitor to determine when to automatically add resources. So I say earlier, if CPU hits so much percentage, it's going to automatically add additional CPU to it, or you need more memory, it's going to add more memory. However, those is going to, when you scale up, it's going to cost you. But you want it to scale up when it's needed, and you want to scale down when it's not needed. So you can set up a maximum and minimum number of instances for that logic to increase or decrease your resources. So autoscale is a pretty cool stuff, and autoscale processor. So you have minimum here is 2, so we're going to say process 90%. Capacity is 3, maximum is 5. So we're saying that, hey, if we have, when you hit 80%, automatically grow your capacity to 5. Add another 2 machine. This is if you're doing some type of load balancing. This is where we're adding more machine to it by automatically it will grow to that other 2 machine will come in. Until these 2 machine comes in, you're not paying anything for these VM. Until these 2 VM as needed, if they come in, if this 3 machine is hitting 80% process time, you have to add 2 additional one. So you're saying the system to automatically do it for us, okay? Visualizing monitoring data, if I can pronounce today. Visualizations such as charts and tables are effective tools to summarizing monitoring data and present it to different audiences. Azure Monitor has its own features for visualizing monitoring data and leverage other services for publishing it to different audiences. So you can also take that Azure monitoring results or the logs into any other monitoring tools. Dashboards. Okay, so we create, Azure also has these dashboards to allow you to combine different kinds of data, both matrix and logs, into a one single panel in Azure portal, so you can optionally share that with your team members as well, or other Azure users, depends on what you want to do. Elements throughout Azure Monitor can be added to Azure Dashboard in addition to the output of any log query or matrix chart. So you could create a dashboard that combines tiles that show a graph of matrix, a table of activity, and also log usage chart from application insight, and the other output of log query. So you can do all kinds of stuff. All right, keep that in mind. Here in Azure Dashboard, so that's your dashboard looks like. We have an application, we show all the security. So you see a lot of time people like to, some people are more, graphically inclined. So if they see more graphics and numbers, it's easier to read than reading data. So it depends on how much, graphic you want to put in. We also can create views, which is presented in Azure Monitor. Each view includes a single tile. Then you can drill down into a combination of bar and line charts. So you can do all kinds of fancy stuff in here. And monitoring solution, it can include views that are going to summarize data for a particular application. And you can also create your own view to present data from any log query. So you can also have custom view, but Microsoft also has a lot of built-in view that you can use as well. And you can add the view to your dashboard if you want. And then we're talking about Power BI. We've done some Power BI stuff. Of course, Power BI is also a business analytics service that interactive visualization across a variety of data sources. An effective means of thinking data outside of your organization. And you can configure BI to automatically import log data from Azure Monitor, and you can take advantages of these additional visualizations that Azure Monitoring offer more than what's in Power BI. It's what Power BI dashboard looks like. It's pretty cool, right? We did some Power BI anyway. Integrate and export data. So you have the requirement to integrate Azure Monitor with other systems to build custom solutions that use your monitoring data. Azure Services works with Azure Monitor to provide these integrations. So these are already built-in integration that you can use them. And we also can use Event Hub. So if you're a developer, you're pretty familiar with Event Hub. Event Hub is Microsoft Event Hub is like any other Event Hub out there. Other third-party Event Hub as well. It's a streaming platform and event injection service that can transform and store data using any real-time analytics provider or for a batching storage adapters. So use Event Hubs to stream Azure Monitor data. We also partner with SIM and monitoring tools. So there you can also use Event Hub for other third-party tools as well. You can use one of those. Logic apps, we created some logic apps in the past, previous exercises. It's a service allow you to automate tests and business processes using workflows that integrate with different systems and services. You can also have activities available to read and write metrics and logs into Azure Monitor, which allows you to build workflow integrating with a variety of other systems within Azure. So we have API, of course, multiple APIs, especially if you're going to read-write matrix logs to and from Azure Monitor. We're going to access generated alerts. You can also configure and retrieve alerts. This allows you to ultimate possibility to build custom solutions that integrated with Azure Monitor. So pretty much Microsoft gives you everything and everything of anything. That what do you want to what do you want it to see in your Azure Monitor? What do you want to implement? And that's all up to you what you implement and how you want to implement it. You do have to put time in to create the initial log, but once you create it, it's going to, it's there. It's just going to pull data all the time. So initial startup is a little bit time consuming. All right. So let's move on to lab. And let's go into lab environment. So the first one we're going to do, I know I gave you a bunch of documents and I hope everybody had a chance to upload those documents. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is we need to collect the data about Azure Virtual Machines. So before we can collect, we are going to, so this is the first one we're going to do. So we have about 5 different documents, and I think I included needed. So we're going to log in as your portal. We're going to create a workspace. We're going to enable the Log Analytics VM extensions. We're going to collect the event and performance data. We're going to view data collected. We're not going to really clean up resources here. But before we go in and create that, we need to create 2 virtual machines. So we need to create 2 VM. We're going to create a VM, Windows-based VM, and a Linux-based VM. So they didn't. We're going to create a Windows VM, and we're going to create a Linux VM. So that's what we're going to do. So I want to make sure everybody had a chance to open this document, because we do need to make sure that you have access to this document as we're going through the lab. So the first thing we're going to create is a Windows virtual machine. So if you see that link that I click on, it is going to take you to create a Windows virtual machine in Azure portal. So let's go ahead and create that virtual machine. So we are going to go back into, I'm going back into my VM. Okay, one thing I should have done, which got to collect data. Before we go back to this is, okay, collect data about virtual machines. So before going back and forward, let me print this out real quick for me. So it'll be easier to do this. Let's then make sure that we are, so make sure you log into the portal and we'll go from there. So we had to create virtual machines first before we can collect data on the virtual machines. Give me 1 second, let me pick up my printout. Okay, I guess I didn't print the right one. All right, so let's look at that document here. Before we go to that, we are creating, okay, we are going to create, oh, that's not what we created, virtual network. Why do I have virtual network out there? Okay, here, quick start. Create a Windows virtual machine. We create a bunch of virtual machines before anyway, so not a big thing, but we are going to create a VM. Just wanted to go through here real quick. So, okay, we're going to create a new resource group called My Resource Group, or if you already have My Resource Group, that's fine. We're going to create a virtual called My VM. If you already have My VM, use something else. The most important thing I want to make sure is we are going to use Windows Server 2016 data center. I delete all my stuff out, so I don't have to create from scratch again. And we are going to create Azure user for administrator account. For inbound port rules, we need to make sure that we're going to choose RDP and HTTP, which we'll go through this together, but I just wanted to show you what we're going to do first. Okay, so that's what we're going to create, that virtual machine, and you can connect to that virtual machine. Okay, so we're going to do this. So everybody see how we get to this page, right? We were in the collect, we were looking at collect data. In the collect data, you have the collect data document open. It's a PDF file. When you go to this line, so Azure Log Analytics. And the last one here, if you don't have Azure Virtual Machine, create a Windows VM. So that's what I select. I select to create a Windows VM. So that's where we are looking at this document is. So go ahead and click that just to make sure we're looking at the same thing. And we are going into create a virtual machine. So back in the portal, we're going to create a resource. Okay, so when I click we'll go into the portal, and when you click create a resource, and when you see you're in the new blade, this step is not in here, so let's do this together first, then we'll go into, we can follow the steps in the document. So when you click new, we are in the marketplace, but we want to use a Windows, so I'm going to, what type of virtual machine? So they want us to use Windows Server 2016, right? Windows Server 2016, see what images we have. Okay, I'm not liking that. Why are we seeing this? Go back to the, okay, so they do want us to use Windows Server 2016 Data Center. 2016 Data Center. Okay, so we're using Windows Server 2016 Data Center. No, they have 16 data centers, so we're just going to use, we do Windows 16 data center. Do we have? No. So we only have Windows 19 data center image right now. So we don't have 2016. So Windows Server 2019 data center. So there's a couple ways you can get to that, but you go in from here, we're going from the VM, or we can also go in from virtual machine down here in the main menu. Instead of going to create a resource, and I can click add here, and we can create a virtual machine that way as well. So however way you want to create it, because we've been doing this for a while, I think you guys should be comfortable playing in here, right? So I went in from the main menu, I went into virtual machine. From the virtual machine, I click the add. So now I'm in this window. They want us to create a new resource group. So my monitor and my log analytics. Okay, so my log analytics resource group, I created virtual machine. VM. I choose South Central US, availability option. We don't, okay, image, we need to make sure we use the Windows Server 2016 data center. Okay, the SB between 1 and 15. It is more than, what is the problem? I don't have any special character. Okay. I don't know what the problem is, but okay, my log analytics VM. We are going to leave the size the way it is. Username, make sure whatever username you put there, you go to remember. So make sure you remember the admin user, password, whatever password you use, got to make sure you know the password. So everybody so far so good, right? We are creating a VM, and you're going to create a Windows Server 2016 data center. We create a new resource group, and we are using Windows Server 2016 data center image. We are adding a username and password for the admin account. So that's what we've done so far. So I just need to write down the user. Okay. And the most important thing, when we come down to the public inbound ports, we're going to select Allow Selected Ports. And when you click the drop down, I just pick all of them. HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and RDP. We just pick all of them. We're going to really use RDP anyway. Do we have a window license? No. So let's go back and look at it to make sure. Did we miss anything here? We create a EU, we create our instance detail, we get the administrator account, we had did the RDP, we had create allow selected ports. Okay, so we done all of that. Okay, seems like we did good. Now we go and let's go back and create it, just to make sure. So we'll click review and create. And we are going to click create. As you know, it'll take a couple minutes to create, so let that create there. We can open up the notification to see where we're going with it. Everybody quiet today. You guys are still awake, alert, enthusiastic, right? I hope so. I'm trying to wake up too. I don't know why today I'm having a hard time waking up. I'm already in my third cup of espresso. For some reason, I'm not waking up. I forgot how long it takes to create a VM. All right, mine come back. Hopefully yours come back as well. So once that come back, we're going to close. We can close this window. I'm going to just get rid of it. So now we can continue with the document that we have, which is the collect the data. So the document, go back to the collect data about Azure Virtual Machine. We're going back to that one. So now the next thing we're going to do, once you have your VM, we are going to create a workspace. Okay. So we're going to create a workspace. So let's see what we're going to do first before we go to do it. So we go back into collect all services, and we go to look for log analytics. So when you start typing log analytics in the all services, you can see it shows up, and we're going to create a name for default log analytics workspace. We only have one subscription, so we're going to link to that. At least I only have one subscription. We're going to link to that. We can use the same resource group we had, and what's the Azure Virtual Machine we have. We're going to select the same location that we just create the VM. Okay, so we're going to make sure that is pricing details. So this is where we're going to go put. We're going to put the workspace subscription resource group. We're going to use the existing resource group. Definitely, we're not doing Australia Southeast, but okay. So we're going to use the same location that we have. So that's what we're going to do first. Then we're going to have to install the Log Analytics VM extension. But let's go ahead and create the Log Analytics first. So let's go back into the portal. All services, and the all services, we're going to type in log analytics in the search box. So instead of just type log, it shows up anyway. So we're going to select the log analytics workspace. Okay, so I already create one, so I'll go ahead and create a new one. So that's my default. So I'm going to say new analytics workspace. Subscription, we're just going to leave the whatever subscription you already have. We're going to use the existing resource group. Okay, that's my resource group, my analytics location. I think we can select South Central U.S. Let me go back and make sure. I'm going to go back to I'll come back to this. I need to make sure my log analytics is South Central U.S. Okay. So now I need to go back into all services, log analytics, space, at South Central U.S. for location. Okay. Your past subscription, I'm going to use the existing resource group. My log analytics RD, location, pricing, tier. I'm going to leave the way it is. And we're going to click OK to create our log analytics. So you can see how quick and how easily you can create a log analytics workspace. So you have to create the log analytics workspace. That's where your log is going to go into. So you've got to make sure that you have a workspace for them before we can create any log. Okay. As you can see, refresh and make sure you can see it. It came back pretty quick, right? So everybody have the log analytics workspace. Now we continue with the instruction here. So we need to enable that. We need to enable the log analytics. So in the Azure portal, we already have all services. We have our log analytics. So we find our log analytics first. So we already finished two steps. That in the workspace data sources, we are going to click virtual machines. In the virtual machines, we are going to select the virtual machines that you want to install the agent to and notice that log analytics connection status of the VM. So we need to go into log analytics first, log analytics work data space first. So, okay, so once we are in the log analytics window, as you know, always shows up in the overview blade, correct? So if you look at in the overview blade toward the bottom, get started with log analytics section in the bottom section, it says connect a data source. So we are going to, under the connect a data source to connect to the workspace, we are going to select Azure virtual machines. Everybody with me on that, right? So when you select Azure Virtual Machines, and we're going to select the virtual machines we are created, notice that it said login is not connected. Okay, so we're going to My Log Analytics. It is not connected. We need to go to that. So we're going to click on the connect. Everybody okay? Because I know you guys can't, you don't have a speaker to talk to me, but if you need me, let me know. And you can use the Skype chat to let me know if you need me. Okay, so we're going to click, we are on the select the virtual machine we just created. We're going to click connect. It takes a while to be connecting, but if you're not seeing connecting and see any other message, please let me know. It should be saying connecting, and it should ask for username and password to connect. So that's a status that they're talking in the documentation, that we want to see that says this, during which time you're going to see that, and you wanted to see connection status going to update to this workspace. That's what we need to see, okay, to this workspace. And say it's a connecting. So here under this status need to change for connecting to, mine still say connecting, right? Yep, it's connecting to the VM. Is that me or you think it just mine connected, successfully connected, yay. It's taking longer today for some reason. Normally it doesn't take this long. Okay, so notice that the status right there say this workspace. Everybody able to get that far? I mean, but are you going to come back and say that yet? So, okay, so then we are going to collect data from the Windows VM. So once we see this Log Analytics Connect status, we are going to click on the VM, go into the VM. I don't know, is that my machine or something has changed? Workspace. Okay, go back to my virtual machine. Go back to my virtual machine. So I'm going back from the resource group. I'm picking up my virtual machine, which is my Log Analytics. That is my virtual machine. And we are going into advanced settings. Okay, no, not in the VM. Sorry, I was wrong. It was in, okay, in your, my clock data. Go into all resources. Go back into our log analytic workspace. So we're going to go back into our log analytic workspace and then go into advanced settings. So again, we're just following the documentation here also. Data collection from Windows VM. So here we are in the data collection for Windows VM. We are going to select the advanced settings. Under the settings, under there we're going to select data and we're going to select Windows event logs. Okay, so go into event settings. So the screens are going to look a little different than they have. We are going into data. So in the connected sources, here we're going to data. We're going into Windows event logs. Notice that we have no event logs there yet, so we need to type in some event log. You're going to type system in here. Everybody so far so good, right? You guys following me? I just want to make sure. So system, select that. We're going to click plus. So we wanted to make sure we have system and make sure that error and warning is selected. And we are going to save that. Okay, that is saved. And then we're going to select Windows Performance Counters and that Windows Computer. And we are going to, you see a bunch of those, we're going to add the selected performance counters. We're going to select add the selected performance counters and preset with a 10-second collection symbol interval. We are going to collect, save. Okay, so once we do that, now we need to go get the data. We're not doing the VM because we don't have the VM. We didn't create the VM virtual machine. If you want to, you can. Now we are going back to the log analytics. We stay in the log analytics space, but we're going to do a log search. So once we go into the log, so we were back here in the overview blade. We went into event settings. In the event settings, we went and did the data. We went and did the data for the event log, and we did the data for Windows Performance Counter. Now we want to do the log search. So we go into the log, and in the log search, we can do a lot of different things in here for the log search. But they want us to do a couple of doing a search on it. You can also, this is where you can also play with it. So I can do PRF, is that what they're does to do? So we can run a bunch of different queries in here. Also, you guys can see there is sample queries that you can run. In the beginning, if you're not familiar with it, it'd be good to run some of the sample queries. So, okay, well, I'm not saying anything to sample queries. And time range last 24 hours. You can also change that to the last hour, last 4 hours, 12, 48, 3 days, 7 days. You can also, like any of them, you can create a custom computer. These are different, starting with sample queries. You can run some of these, computers availability today. Run that just to get you an idea. Well, I only have one computer, so it's not really giving you much, but you can see you can run it. So you can go back to click on sample queries again, and you can run computer performance, memory and CPU usage. We can run that. Don't really have any data yet, but you can see this is the log. If you wanted to monitor and you want to look at the log, this is the app that you need to be familiar with. Make sure that you know each and one of these queries. You can do computer availability, data usage, usage by data types. We don't really have any data in there, but you can see no results found because we had nothing in the last 24 hours. We can also change that rate to last hour just to see if we get anything running. I don't think we still have anything in the data, but you guys got the idea of things that you can do in here. Okay, so this is the log thing that the app I want you to play with it, because the more you stay at it, the more you're going to get better with it. But that's something that you have to figure it out. Hold on one second. I want to see if there's any note I have. Need to be in the workspace. Okay, simple query on the history, chart availability. I wanted to find something that show you data. Yeah, that we already run that one. There's not, we don't really have any data yet or anything, but you can see, and also if you go into the chart, on your line, tables, time generated, these are all the things that you can customize also. Lines, you can decide what type of line you want, pie, you want area. So we don't have any much data to play with it, but you can, if you guys have data or you already have a data that within your group that you're playing already, this is where you can go and test it. Because we don't have data in here to play with, but you can see you can get different type of pie chart, you can get all type of information. So what we've done so far is the something news that we created a log analytic workspace, and we tied that to our VM, and we were able to connect to the VM. So we are running these queries, and we can run some sample queries. There are different type of queries that you can change. And once you start playing with this, you'll have a better idea that how to create different type of queries. And here, we got some sample queries to get you started. And when you go back to sample queries, you can notice that they are breaking down to 4 different types. We have history, computer availability, we have computer performance, and data usage. So you can look at these to run with these, run different ones to make sure you understand it, as well as you can also go and search under here. You can create schemas, we can create filter. So there's all kinds of different things you need to do. You can do it here. Logs itself, so you can spend a good 40 hours to play with it to make sure that you get familiar with that. All right. So because we don't have data in there, and you know me, I don't like to show you something that you can't see the whole thing. I want you guys to be able to create the log analytics and all that. So now we're going into a demo that has data that we can play with, that you guys can see how the query works. Because in the log analytics, the most important thing is to be able to run the query. Because you got so much data in there, if you can't run the query, there's no way you're going to be able to see everything you want to see, right? Also, running a query, you're going to be able to see things pretty quick and fast, and that's what we want to do. So at this point, I want you guys to, on your note, well, I don't know why I have 2, but okay. I want you guys to go back to the note that documents that I attached. There's only one document I have is in Word document. The others are PDF and PowerPoint file. The Word document file, if you guys can open it, you should see the first one say, get started with Azure Monitor Log Analytics. So we're going to click that query because that inside we have availability to do the demo in there, which has data. Okay, so everybody able to find that Word document? Yes? So if you can find that Word document, the very first one is get started with Azure Monitor Log Analytics. So let's go into that one. And just give me 1 minute. I'm going to go fill my coffee. I'll be right back. Okay, I hope everybody is in the in that particular demo. Get started with Azure Monitor Log Analytics. So we're going to write some queries. We're going to understand the schema of your data. We're going to learn how to filter, sort, and group results. We're going to apply a time range. We're going to create charts. We're going to save and load the queries. We're going to export and share the query. So pretty much anything and everything we want to do with this, that's what we're going to do for the log analytics stuff, for all the query, which is we got here. We know how to get here. We already create stuff, but we don't have data to play with. At least I don't have any data. So now we're going into basic queries. Now, before we go into that, in the very first line on the document, you should see it's in a purple background. It's saying that use our demo environment. Did everybody see that link? Use our demo environment. So that will open up in a new window. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will need to open that up in another. I need to make sure. I want to make sure I have two windows so I can go back and forward to the document and the portal. So first one is just to show the document. One will have the demo environment. So I'm going to click this one. So I notice that when you do a demo, you are in the Azure Log Analytics environment. Everybody so far so good, right? So we are going to go in and play with the data. So in the basic query, we are going to do event search error. So if you play with it, you should see some data in here. You can copy and paste that command in there, and you run it. So now you can see all the thing that when we said pipe the event to search error. So all this table has the event level name is error. That's what you see. And that's something very common if you're monitoring Azure Log Analytics. You want to find all the error ones first. See which ones are error. So a very simple statement here. So we just run event search error. So we will see the data, see the all the error data. Okay, so you got a good idea here. Understanding the schema. So schema is a collection of tables that used to group a logical category. So we have monitoring solutions, we have log management. Category contains common data such as Windows, syslog events, performance data, client hardware. So we have all kinds of different schema is what we're showing here is under schema. So if you're looking at, let's even go back here, and if I do log here in the schema, even the data tells us to do it, but I just show. So this is where the schema you're going to do. This is your, within that schema, you go to filter stuff. So schema is a group of related table put together is a schema. So that's what we're talking. Now we're going to filter some of the results. So getting everything in the event table. So we can get everything in the event table first. Okay, because I had to delete what's in the schema. Cannot have a schema in there. Okay. So notice that when I had syslog in here, it will not run because event is in a different schema. So you got to make sure if you don't know what the schema it's in, you need to clear that out. So here's this showing all the event. Notice that it has all kinds of event level names, information. You can scroll down, you can see, and there is page 1 of 200. That's all the event. That's a lot of data in there. Now, so from there, we are going to filter that query. So we know that, God, that's too many of them. We can't do all of them. So we're going to run a specific query only. So we can do what you can do within here is, so again, we're trying to get you familiar with stuff in here. Okay, so it's not that these data may not make sense to you, but I want you to get familiar with looking at these. So here we can look at even at the event level. So if you highlight it, notice that you can have that drop. That means you're sorting it. You can sort down or sort up. You can also have, we're trying to find where's the plus sign then, like I said, they're talking about here. Above a column name, if you hover above a column name, you should see it's a little bit hard to do it, but if you, and these are all the different columns. You can say enable the grouping, or you can stop the grouping. You can filter columns here, select all or select none. Notice that here's all the columns here you can select from. The same thing for the tables 24 hours. You can change things in here, display time, all that. We got that higher, but okay, now I think, okay, we have to do it before. Okay, here's also, if you want to filter within this particular source, if you look, each column has this little filter thing, filter icon, you can, you say is equal to this. If it's not equal to, so you can have all your logic in here to filter what you want to see. So you can do that. Now I'm a column name. There. Okay, for some reason I'm not clicking it right here, but were you guys able to find that plus and minus that they're talking about? Oh, I know you have to, also you can expand it in here, and when you expand it also, you can set a specific parameter in here, okay? And notice that, so that's what I was missing. So one of the event, if you open any event, didn't matter, but each column you can have included or excluded. So you can include it or exclude it. That's what plus and minus is. Everybody able to find that plus and minus thing? Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm assuming everybody able to find that, right? That's what they were talking about, to include it or exclude it to run in the query. So we can go back and we can, we wanted to include event level. I don't want to include XML thing. I don't want to include the event data. I don't want to include resource description, event category, or username, or whatever that is. There's nothing in there anyway. So, okay, so I did all of that, and I can run it again. Okay, when I do that, I must have did something wrong in here, but pretty much that's what include, exclude is going to do. And go back and do that again. Delete. You just exclude one thing, I guess. I'll go back and just do, go back and run that event query only. Yeah, event only. Okay. Notice that they're case sensitive. Okay, so you guys got the idea that you can go in here and we can just do one thing that you can see here, okay, event log, event level name. So if I want to exclude, well, I want to exclude this parameter XML. So I just want to exclude that. Okay, so, well, didn't exclude it, but supposed to exclude it. I only excluded it in one, that's why. But you got the idea that what you can include and exclude that we're talking here. Okay, so that's adding filter to the query here. So this is include, exclude that. And now next one we also can focus is on the severity level of the error. So we can go into the different level of severity and see, notice that there's severity level is 4, 3, or 2. So you can also set up based on that, okay, I want to see all the value that is equal to 1 with items value for the event level. So you can set up all these different things. So that's what we're talking here with creating a specific filter for that particular column. Each column you can do that. We can also sort and group the results, and I showed you how we sorted earlier. Just, I mean, like any other sort, right? You got when you click on this, clear, you have a drop down arrow. You can ascend or descend the grouping, the sorting. Also, you can way to organize by groups also. You can create groups and choose a specific column and drag them into the column header, then it will go into that. So these are all the different things that we can display. Select columns to display. We just show you, you can pick and choose which column you want to display. You can also select a time range. So back to the here, if we can click, and those are saying time range syntax. You can also say, you can set it up this way as well, but you can see when you do the time range, you see all of that different times in 7 days, or you want to do last hour, 24 hour. You can also create custom. So their output's a little different because we have, you know how Microsoft has changed a lot too. So the portal, I think they wanted to choose, if you do custom, then you can see what. So you can create different time zones. If you don't like last hour, 4 hours, you want to see the last 2 hours only. As you can see, you can set up all different parameters to play with it in item range. Let's do the chart. Chart will be fun to do. So if we do the chart here, copy that code. We have to have a way to clear that thing here. And I can go into chart, and I can choose different type of chart, all kinds of fancy stuff you can do. So if you're analyzing data, these are very, very cool stuff. I hope you guys think that's pretty cool stuff, right? Because in the past, if we have to do something to create this, in the back end, how much code we had to write to see something like this, you'll be surprised. And anytime you see something like, for this report, I know the code to the back end is about 2,000 lines of code, believe it or not. So that's pretty fun, pretty easy stuff you can do, right? And pretty cool stuff. And you can also do smart diagnostics. A sudden spike or spin, we can set up a smart diagnostics as well. So you can see there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with the data. You can pin it to the dashboard if you want to. We don't really have anything to pin, but if you want to pin it, you can pin it to the dashboard too. And you can save it if you know, of course, we're running in their environment, but you can pin it to the dashboard and all that. Pretty cool stuff, right? Any questions, concerns? You can save your query. You can load your query. So I hope you guys take advantage of using these, because this will be a good way for you to start querying stuff and look into the data if you're analyzing the data a lot faster by doing that. This is using the Custo syntax. Is different, but that's specifically only for log analytics. You can only use a log analytics. Okay, moving on. If we guys are happy, we are going to move on to getting the second demo. Get started with get started with Azure Monitor Log Queries. So we're going to do more about the log queries. and let's go open that document. So this is the one we're looking at. This is the one we went into. Collect data. Measure, sorry, that's not what we want. Okay, these are not what I need. Okay, that's for the next one. Okay, I don't need any of these. Okay, so let's go get the document. For the second one we're going to do is get started with log queries. Yeah, get started with log queries in Azure. Right, so we're going to write a new query. Again, we want to get more writing a new query, filtering conditions, specify a time range, project extended compute columns, summarize, aggregate groups or rows. So we're going to do a little bit more into the query. Again, you are already, if you're already in the demo environment, stay in it. If you logged out, you can click on that demo environment again in the document right there. So make sure we open the document. The demo environment is the same. So again, make sure that everybody has this get started with Azure Monitor Log Queries open. Yes, we're all good. If we have that open, let's go ahead and play in here in the demo environment. We're going to write a new query. I want you to get familiar with the custom query language. So we are going to, if you're already in the environment, okay, now we need to go back to that file. So back to that file, we got to make sure that you have not the document open, the PDF I give you, got to make sure that we have it open in the browser page so we can copy and paste stuff. Okay, so we already have the demo one. I would stay in the demo, but now we can copy and paste from here. So this is table-based query. We are going to run that statement in here. Severity, a security event, take 10. So it's going to tell you, look at that, this security, what the level of the security, what the computers are, what is type of the account time generated, the test, event data. Give you all kinds of good information. It depends on what we're trying to do, right? So the query shows above returns 10 results from the security event table. This is a very common way to make sure that you're not looking at thousands of query. Starts with a table name security event. So you need to know what type, once you start working in that environment, you'll have more familiar with what type of table you need to query in. Define the scope of the query. The pipe here, security event, tells you what table it is. The pipe saying that output of the first one in the input. So make sure that, pipe elements. Take means that it returns a specific number of records from the table. So take 10 means that. Take 10 would be valid, but it could run up to 10,000 results. So we will say just give us 10. We wanted to see only 10. Now within that query, we can also set, search in that security event table and look for cryptographic those records and return only 10 records. So we want you to, this exercise is you to get familiar with this type of query, this language of query that I want you guys to be familiar with, because that's what you're going to need to know to query anything for some reason. We're not getting anything on that one, but okay. Sometimes we have that problem, maybe. They have that problem. Okay, we'll also sort and top. So in this one, we're going to return security event table again. Sorts the entire security event table by descending, by time generated column. Limits the display show only 10,000 records. Of course, not optimal, but you might, you can do different here. So, descending. So you can see the syntax is very similar to SQL though, right? And you can see they're a little bit different on that how you want it to, the query runs. So you can see how easy it is, and you can also run similar statements that we do in SQL that we say top 10 by time generation, so you can run those as the same thing again. Try to run it. So this is give us top 10 make more sense because you only want to see certain of, right? So top 10 generate. So it's going to give us 10 record. So you got the idea. It's a different running query. It does take a little bit of time for you guys to get used to it. If you're already a SQL person, this should be easier. Now we're going to filter based on condition. So let's run that statement here saying security event pipe where level equal 8. Now we'll come back and look at the operator parameters in here to make sure that, and these are pretty much standard operator for any type of language, any type of SQL language or even other programming. Okay, so in this case, notice that the level only 8 is going to come back. So let's look at different, what other expression operators do we have here? So expression, of course, equal means that it has to be exact. Check equality, case sensitive, so be careful. Equal util, check equality. Event source name equal with the util say, make sure that event source name is Microsoft Windows Security Auditing. We have not equal, and that's not equal. So level not equal 4 means that, hey, give me everything is not level 4. Give me everything except 4. And or operators required to be treated condition level equal 16 or command line not equal to empty. You got the idea. So these are pretty much standard expression operators anyway, except this one equal util, maybe that's a little different, but pretty much other operators we've seen it before. So the next one here, multiple conditions, you can either use and or. So we can play some of these to see what do we have here. All right, so you got in this particular one, we're going to they're also looking at security event table where level equal 8 and event ID is 4672. So pretty much a very similar to SQL statements, right, guys? You guys have done these many before. Now we're going to pipe another one here. A security event pipe where level equal is 8 and where event ID is 4672. So note that values can have different types. So you might need to cast them to perform comparison on the correct type. For example, security event level column is type of string, so you must cast it into a numerical type such as int or long before you can use numerical operators on it. So you guys got that right. That's what we normally do with SQL, same thing. You have to convert it to something else. You need to convert it to make sure that the data type match if you're going to do it. Compare it. Specify a time range. I showed you where we can do the time range again. Time range is here. You can select last 30 minutes, last hour, last 4, last 12. 24 is the default. 48 hours, last 3 days, last 7 days, or we can click custom and specify a custom time. All right, and then we can also filter in the query, and we did that. Okay, so we done all of those. Now we wanted to do project. So we wanted to use project to select specific columns to include in that result here. So we call that project. So it's a security event top 10, pipe into top 10 by time generated. Project is time generated computer activity. See if we can run that one in the demo here. Okay, so we got this. So when we do that, so we are creating so you can also use a project to rename the columns and only the computer and time general original column. Rename activity column to event details, create a new column. Now, so think of that, the sub-project is similar to, we create a view in tables, right? And SQL Server, we can create views. And so this is very similar to that concept. So we are creating event code, event details. So we can play with the output data. We can play with the data to have the way we want it, to make sure that, so you can have the column name so that you can, for more readability, so you can also do that. And you can aggregate groups of rows in here. So we run that one. We can run one more of this activity thing. Okay, we run that one, and we can summarize this. Okay, so here we change the table here. Now we are looking at preference records table. So you guys getting a hang of it, though, what this is doing, right? So that's a goal, is what you to get. There's different things you can do. You can summarize by a time column. You can create a chart. You got the idea. But this is how, if you want to do log analytics, this is where the place to be played in this log analytics. This is where you want to play. All right, we come back and we will do, we got 3 more labs to do, as well as. All right, so let's take a quick break before we get into another heavy one here. So it's about 8:13. So let's meet back at 8:40 Eastern Time. Everybody good? Let's meet back at 8:14. I'm sorry, 8:40. Meet back at 8:40 Eastern Standard Time. We got to let Martha know. We'll be back at 8:40, guys, okay? We're going into search queries in Azure Monitor Logs. So back on the document, this is the third one in the document here. Search queries in Azure Monitor Logs. So let's open that up. And also make sure that we open it back, in the browser page, so we can copy paste. So this is the last search queries we're going to do, that we're going back into our portal, okay? So this, again, I want you to get more familiar with this. If you wanted to do log analytics, we got to make sure you're familiar with these syntax, and make sure that you know all the things that you can run. So columns in all tables are scanned for the item error, and it's taking the top 100. You can also do it by table scoping, so we can do a term in this table name just after the search operator. So search in event error take 100. So in this case we say, hey, don't give me all the error, because it came back too many records, so we want to narrow it down to a specific specific table only, so you can see how easily you can do that. The event it has to be in open and close bracket. It is a parameter. You got to make sure that it is stay in open close bracket, and then whatever the message, the event level name you want, and say give these the first 100. So that's how you do the table. You can also do in multiple tables also. I wanted multiple tables. In this particular table, they're showing us the event and security event. For both tables, give me the error and give me the top 100. All right, so that will give us top 100 for both tables. So you got the idea that how that works. You can also do within the table and column scoping at the same time. So you can see source error. We'll vet all columns in the data set to search only a specific column using this syntax. So you can do that as well. So it's this is a different way of searching compared to this. It is all the search statement, as you can see, are case sensitive. So make sure that you stay with the syntax here and make sure that they're not. So case sensitive here. So they're talking about is case sensitive. So data DNS to make sure that search case sensitive use the kind option. So you can also do that DNS in a bracket, in a double quoted. Because it's case sensitive, if you wasn't sure if DNS is all spelled in cap or D is in cap and the rest is in small, all in small, to make sure that you can use a kind option by doing that and putting in search kind equals. Kind means that take lower, upper, any type of combination that will allow you to search it. That's a pretty cool stuff here that you can search that way. So normally, to stay on the safe side, I will always search by using the kind stuff because we want to make sure, if you're not sure that how the data is stored. You can also use wildcards here. So if you do win at the end, it is going to search terms start with win. So run that command to see. It's going to give us everything that start with win. So you can see that everything start with win is what you're going to get. Now, if you wanted to do end it with .com, you want to search a term that event, give me everything ended with .com, and give me the first 100 record. You can see the syntax is not hard. It's just a little different. You just take some time getting used to it. And if you want it, you're not sure www is in the middle or the front or the end, you can say search contain. So if you search this way, open and close bracket, and have asterisk on both and a double quoted, that means that it's going to search a term contain that has www in it. So you go back and run that. As you can see, you will see that it's going to run everything has www in it. Okay. And of course, there's so many columns, you have to maybe look at just that column only. We need to find just that column. So you got the idea that always different wildcards. So I want you to get more familiar with that. Also, you can use a combination of the AND and OR search queries as well as the pipe search. But if you scroll down also, you can see where is the Custo query language site. That gives you all the different functions. If you want to know more, if you want to get more statement here, storm events, where start time and end time is, where state is blah, blah, blah. So you can see there is all kinds of statements that you need to do, but if you're going to do log analytics, you must learn that language, which is not very hard, as you can see, but it is, it does have that. You do have to know the syntax, right? And like any other language, it has a little syntax that you need to get familiar with. It's something you're not familiar with. That's why you need to practice on that. So we were in this particular one we were doing. You can run the pipe search and all of that. You gotta get the good idea how this do. Search query in the Azure Monitor Log. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom on that, and you're in the Go to the Custo query language site, and you can see all the different entities. You can use the different data types that you can use. You can also see different functions, different query statements, aliases statement. You can alias a statement just like we do in SQL. You can see all the tabular operations, evaluate operators. We have join operators. We have summarize operators. We also have special functions. We have cluster function, database function, materialize function, table to scalar. We have also all the scalar operators, bitwise, date and time, logical, numerical operators, string operators, between operators, not between operators. So you can see we have all kinds of different statements, and this is something that if you go to use Log Analytics seriously, this is the site. I want you guys to make sure that bookmark it, because this is where you can come and get different type of syntax. So all that said, we are done with all these monitoring query stuff, and hopefully you guys take advantage of those. And like I said, if you are going to use Log Analytics, that is something we do need to be serious about that. Okay, so now let's move on to the next lab. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to create and share dashboards for Azure Log Analytics data. So let's go ahead and open that one, create and share dashboards of Log Analytics data. We'll go back to our portal, and we are going to create a share dashboard. So let's go back to our portal. So back to the portal. Okay, I am going to close some of these to make sure I don't have too many open. All right, so we are back to the portal, guys. Once you're back to the portal, you can go into the dashboard. So the dashboard, when you click on dashboard on the main menu, I put something here already, but on the main menu, when you go to dashboard, and we can create a new dashboard. So Maze dashboard. So we can create a new dashboard. Okay. So the first thing we go into, for the main menu, we click a dashboard, and we select create a new dashboard. And we can select share. So we can add stuff to this if you want to add stuff to this. So I can add a matrix chart. I can add resource groups. I can add a clog. And I can add resource graph chart. Okay, and I can move these to a different in a different order. Okay, so I can move that matrix chart down here. I can add market. I can add run history, logic, apps. So you guys got a good idea. We can add anything we want to add here. If you don't find the order, you can go to all resources. Also, you can add all resources here. It tells you all the resources you have that I have in here. So now I'm just going to stop done customizing. Don't have a lot of stuff here. Then I can click share, and I can see I'm sharing. To share it, you must publish your dashboard. So I can share, and I see, yes, I want to publish my dashboard. So now I have my Maze dashboard. I'm going to manage users. I can go into manage users. I can assign users who you're going to allow to see your share dashboard. Everybody so far so good on that? So we'll go back to the ones I don't have any user here to add, so I'm not going to add anybody. Now from the main menu, I'm going back to all resources. and the all resources, I am going into my, back to our log analytics workspace. And there I am going to go into logs. So back to log analytics workspace, and in the middle section where the configuration section under general, I'm just going to select logs. I am going to change that to last, I had it the last 24 hours, it's fine. Okay, so we don't really have, again, we don't really have any data in here, but what I want to show is that up here, once you run a log, so I just run something. So in the sample query, I run the computer availability today. I run that, and I'm going to pin this. Right, so, well, that one's a not good one to run. Let me go back to find another query that we can run. Which one did we run that has some data earlier? Computer performance. Okay, you got some information here, and but that's not good for a chart. So I'm going back to run something that I can put it on a chart. Okay. Performance. Let's look at usage. CPU trends over the last, okay, so I just do CPU trends over the last day. So under the sample queries, that's what I select because I wanted to see it in a chart. I wanted to see it. I can do it in donut. Type string. Okay, you can do it in donut. Can I do this? That's getting ahead of body looking. Scattered. Okay, I'll just go back to my stack. Okay, or I just like different things. And I want on the top, you can see the pin button. So we can pin it to our dashboard. But notice that when we click on pin, it's going to pin to logs to the dashboard. View dashboard. You have to publish the changes. So it did pin my query though. Hold on, I want to pin my query performance. I guess maybe I need to save it. Okay, so as you can see, okay, so here's what I need to pin this. So I got to pin this one. So as soon as I click on the pin, that's what I was looking for. Notice that it tells you which dashboard you want to pin it to. So I say I want to pin it to May's dashboard. And okay, go back to my dashboard. Okay, I don't know why I have to open a new one, but okay, it should pin it to my dashboard. So now you can see it was pinned to my dashboard. I wanted to move it. No, I can't, so I don't want to. It doesn't move it. All right. Publish the changes. So you got the idea that you can create a query, customize what we just created, that new dashboard. We had go into the log analytics, create a query. Of course, your guys' query is going to make more sense. This is just to give you an idea how you can attach to the dashboard when you create a query. So far, so good. All right. Hang in there, guys. It seems like every time we're losing people here. Maybe is this a topic that not everybody interested, maybe? So, okay. The next thing we want to create is we are going to create alert. Okay, we're going to create a new alert rules. I don't know why I have this one down here. Okay, close this too. I don't know why I have that open. All right, we're going to go to the next one. So go back to the files that we downloaded. We are going to respond to events with Azure Monitor Analytics. So in this case, we are going to create alert. We're going to view the alert in Azure portals. Everybody so far so good? We are going to create alert. So we go back into the portal and we're going to select alert and back to our monitor and go into alert. We're going to create new alert rule. That's what we're going to do. Define alert rule. We're going to define a criteria and all that stuff. Condition is greater, less. We're going to create a specific rule for our CPU greater than 90%. We'll create a critical position. The CPU greater than 90%. A critical is better be a high critical. It's critical for going over 90%. So we're going to do that. We're going to enable upon the creation. We're going to add action group. So when this happens, what do we want? We want a email sent to us that, hey, there's our CPU is above 90%. You can change the changes. We can create an action group, create a alert rule. And notice that alert rule will start running immediately as soon as we create it. And we can go back into Azure portal and view your alert to see how many alert you have. So that's what we're going to do for this exercise. All right, so we're all good. Now let's go into also.
Make quick question. Will there be any charges for all these alerts that we create? Like, is there any subscription cost or anything from?
I don't know what you guys are doing, and I think we talked about that with Brandy one time. I don't know because this being a training, I don't know what agreement you guys had with Microsoft, but in a production, yes, this is going to cost you. So I do suggest that after the session to delete all that, delete the log analytic workspace as well. Because that's what's going to cost us. Okay?
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Okay.
Good question. Very good. All right.
I have a quick question?
Sure, please.
Yeah, I have a container. If I want to monitor the logs which the files are coming into the container, is there any way to see the logs?
Yeah, you could. That's what you had to do. Because we did do the container one. The same site that we're looking at the documents there. Go look for the container setup. You had to set it up first, though, right? But let me know. You have my email, right? Let me know if you don't find it. I'll try to find you the document. But the same site that we were doing when we were going and doing these demo site, on their site, demo environment site. On that same documentation around there, search for that. So there is a step-by-step how to set up. You got to set up those, like the one we did today. But you have to set up for not instead of log analytics, you got to set up for container monitoring.
Okay.
Okay, but let me know if you
Okay.
can't find it. All right.
Sure. I will check that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So everybody good? We are going to go in and create alert. So if you're already in the portal, that I'll go back to. I just go back into all resources, and all resources. Let's pull up our log analytic workspace that we created earlier. We only have one anyway. Okay. And you're going to go scroll down in the middle section where the configuration section under monitoring. We are going to click alert. Everybody find it, right? First of all, I want to make sure you have the documentation. Make sure that you open up that PDF file I sent you, which is respond to events with Azure Monitor Alerts. Once you have that, let's go in, make sure go into the portal, go back into Log Analytics Workspace, the one we just created today, and in the middle section, under the monitoring section, go in, click on Alert. Everybody so far so good, right? We have alert. Right, alert session. So we are going to create new alert rule. The steps here is a little bit older version, so we're going to see a little different version here, okay? So we are going to click new alert rule. So when we create new alert rule, it shows up in the resource. So unless you want a different resource, you can choose, but we say, okay, resource is correct. We're just using this resource because we only have one. In the condition, we can add a condition. So we can add a condition. So in the condition, we can say what type of condition do we want. So their steps are not identical as what we have. The steps are we got to kind of have to wing it on this one because the steps that they give us is in an older version. We had moved from that already because Azure portal is changing all the time, but we'll try to make it work here. So now we have that we have to decide a single logic or are we going to use single logic or create, so we go to configure a single logic. So configure a single logic. Okay, we are going to select Azure VM. So we can look up our VM if we want to. Select Azure VMs, so we are going to monitor service, single type, and if you look at a single type, it's a matrix log search activity log. So single logic panel, select Azure VM processor. So on monitoring services, we have different here auto scales. So I'm trying to find the right one here. Do we have the right one here? And you can search on that as well. Syslog, notice that you see there's all different type of data already in there for you to monitor. So if we can go to Azure VM. Okay, definitely not by Azure VM. Okay. So instead of condition, that now we change it to criteria. Select Azure VMs. I'm not seeing Azure VMs. Okay. We have single type object. Okay, it's not Azure VM. Okay. I done it yesterday. Where did I go to do that? Okay, well, basically, I'll select matrix measurement. Okay, maybe we have to go by a different one. So go to matrix measurement. Okay, all right, for the condition is different. We go to the condition here. Actual alert for each object query with a value that expresses by threshold. Okay, so so take this one off. Okay, so under matrix. Okay, they're all over. I'm not sure, but okay, we'll just leave their matrix. So like greater than or 90%. So, I'm not sure. I don't see the, okay. We're looking for a measurement. We are looking for create two logic panes like being processor utilization from the list. Processor utilization from the list. I don't see if I do processor. So let's see if I can find processor. Processor. I'm not sure that we're in the right one because they changed it. Okay, let me come back to this a second here. I want to see what other stuff on down here. Okay, alert rule name. At least we know that. Okay. Configure single logic. I'm not sure that part here. Okay, well, alert rule. We know the alert rule name. We can name anything you want. How did I get there yesterday? I was trying to figure out because I know they changed a bunch of stuff here. All right. Enable. Okay, so now we have space. Select. Okay, sponsorship. Select a resource. Okay, so we select that resource. That's the only resource we have. Location. Resource. Azure Pass. Location. South Central U.S. Okay, I'll leave that. That's okay. Here's where I'm not. Select a single defined logic actions define. Okay, I don't think we can add a. Okay. Okay, so what I did is that I went to, from here, from the original create rule, try not to confuse you guys here, but I click on the actions, because I'm not sure what the condition is. So actually it comes up this. So I'm going to create alert rule and click on the create alert rule. So it's at add criteria, so that's a little bit more look like what they're saying here. So I go into the add criteria. Everybody feel like how I got there, right? In the add criteria, here we're saying we are criteria, select our save query, select add criteria, like our save query, and specific. Okay, so we had that one query that we saved, but I don't. I thought we saved I thought we saved a query, but I'm not seeing that. Okay, so let me go back to, all right. Okay, they changed too much now. This is getting a little bit worse than I was doing. I'm going back to the one I had. I want to show, go back and look at my one I created yesterday. I don't know why yesterday I didn't have a problem, but now I do. But that's kind of normal. Oh, no, the log. We are, we want it to be in the module. I just want to show you the one I created, so I know the one I created works. So I have this manage alert rule. And if I go into that rule, this is where percentage is greater than 90%. So I created this. I'm just going backward to look at for what I created so we can create one here. Okay, so under the condition, that's what we add. Okay, so we have this under the condition. So go back into the condition. Okay, so go back into here. Okay, so in here we selected, okay, this is, so we create, it wasn't a condition that we created, so it was in the condition custom log search. And we had a single selection and did that. So, okay, we had, I'm not, okay, so this is the screen we need to get. We're not getting this screen. I mean, we have to find the screen because this is where you're also setting up the greater than threshold is 90 and all that. Do you see that? So we need to replicate this, which I'm not sure how I got there in that, but okay, so a single section, add criteria, save, to select our save query. Where do we, okay. Under the section alert criteria, okay, select our save query and select logic, but we need to have a save query that we didn't have, or we didn't create it earlier, or we didn't have it in mind. At least I don't have it in mind. So we have to go back in and create a query. So go back into the logs, go back into your workspace, go back into the logs to see if we have any query we created. So if we don't, we're going to go back in and create that query. So computer performance, and memory CPU usage, simple, I'm going to run that. Okay, so we got something, just try to run something. And I'm going to save that query. This is for the condition query. Make it query. So I'm saving a query that I run there. Then I'll go back to, and then we're going back into the alert and create a new alert rule. Okay, so this is where we have to go back into the logic, conditional logic. We want a single, but they already talked about that here. Then alert rules from the configure logic single pane, select Azure VM, process and utilization from the list. Okay, let's see, all, monitor service, activity log, okay. So here they're telling us that we need to go find, that's the same thing they're talking, all events. Oh, okay, we find our query here, so we need to find under the single name, look for your query first. Okay, so that's where I missed it earlier. So when you go into the configure single logic, which is clicking the add condition button, from there, under the single name, you go to select the query that you created. No data to display. Okay, but you got some stuff in there, didn't matter. Now, this is where we have the alert logic is what we're going to put in. Number of result is greater than, that's what they want us to do. Configure greater than 90 on the threshold for the condition. We might not get anything because I don't think the data I pick is not the have anything in there, but evaluate it. I want you guys to be able to see this one. Evaluate it every 5 minutes, frequency every 5 minutes. They want us to set 3, I think. Greater than, enter a value of 3. So these are different ones, different parameters you're setting up. I want to make sure you get to see this, even though that's not a big deal, but and you can search a query. Everybody so far, so good, right? I'm sorry, I got to take you guys for a different trip. Back here, make sure that when you click on the condition, you got to, so before we come in here, you have to have a query, and you go to run that query based on this condition. And we go into the condition, now it's saying the greater than 90 count. Okay, and then we can create, the next thing we do is we are going to create actions. severity value. We did all of that, and then we can go and create actions, action group. So we can, add an action group, or we can create an action rule. Okay, so add action group. Add action group, we can create, I have action group already, but I can create action rule, add criteria, we can do action rule details again, this definition of this is scope, suppression, or action groups. We're choosing action groups, criteria, did they give us criteria? Group name, okay. Don't have that, but the group name, because with the scope is okay. We have file criteria, actions. You see a new action group, action rules detailed. Notice that at the bottom there's enable action rule, that what you wanted to select. Save this rule in the resource group, or in the dashboard, or in your activity log. You can set up a action rules detailed. Start action rule details. So I say percentage CPU greater, CPU greater than 90. To leave that as a severity level. Okay, so we could go in and create these things here. To find through action groups, we go to add an action group name. We add that one action group, or you can create one if you want. One action group can be only configured per action rule. For each one, you have to have one. We can add criteria here again. Severity should be equal severity 0. I'm just making this up here. So you can set up what severity level for that's supposed to be. So you see that kind of, the steps are not in the right order, and so my apology, but that's what happened because Azure is still live. Every time we go in, they have moved things around, but that's pretty much how you can create your alert. To be able to create the alert, I know we kind of go all over, but you guys can figure it out. So I'm sure you guys have no problem finding that. So this is just to show you how to create alert. Of course, you want to create something more useful. This is just trying to give you an idea what the steps are. So I would take you guys to take this as a platform and go in and do something more appropriate for your what you're trying to do in your organization. All right. What I want to go now is we want to go to the last document, which is autoscale. Autoscale would be a good one for us to do. So let's go into autoscale based on performance data or a schedule. So let's open that one. I'll close this one. All right. I don't have many opening. Oh, come on. Okay, we are going to do this last lap, so bear with me. All right, we are back to the Azure portal. Before we do anything, I want to tell you what we're going to do. We are going to create a web app and app service plan, which we've done it many times, but we're going to follow their steps here. We're going to create the web app, and then we're going into autoscale setting, and we're going into enable that autoscale. We are going to play with that set of conditions. We can configure default profile. We're going to create a resource profile. We can create a scale out rule, and we are going to create a scale in rule. So these are different things that we're going to do to make sure we have we can auto scale our application. Any resources, you can scale any resources within Azure. We're going to trigger a scale out action. We're going to trigger a scale out action so we can see how the output's going to look like. So first of all, make sure you guys have the document. Everybody have the document? All right, once we have the document, we are going back into the portal. In the portal, we are clicking a create a resource. Go away. Create a resource in the resource option. We are going to select web app. So if we can just type in web app also. Notice that when I start typing, it shows up here in the other section. So we are going to select the web app in the popular. So once we have a web app, we are going to use the same resource group that we used for today. Okay, we are going to create a app name, say My Test Scale Web App. My Test Scale Web App. Okay, and make sure that it publishes to code. The runtime stack, we are going to select not .NET Core 2.2 for a runtime stack. Operating system, we are going to leave it Windows. Location, I'm going to change to South Central US where my resource group was created. App service plan, we're just going to leave the app service plan, which is new. It's fine, standard. We're not going to change anything there. Go into the monitoring. We need to application insight. So we are going to say no, we're not doing application insight this one. So make sure go into the monitoring tab and we are selecting no for application insight. Everybody so far so good? We got that right. Make sure the monitoring is no. And we are going to select review and create. We are going to create a web app and app service plan. Once we got the app, we're going to do auto scales. So when we come back, I'm going to click create. After review and create, we have to click create again. Well, we only have one more session left. Wednesday is our last session. So I hope you guys are going to miss me, right? You're like, yeah, right. Even though the session, the training ends, doesn't mean that you got to stop your learning. So please continue learning, okay? All right, mine's back. Hopefully yours came back as well. I'll just go into resource group from there. And in my resource group, I'm going to pick the resource group I did for today. In my resource group, I should see my app service, my test scale web app. Everybody find your app service? Let's go into your app service. So once you got into your application, get into your web app. So I'm in the app service. We are going into monitor options. Under the monitoring. Where? sorry, it's under the settings. They moved it again. I'm trying to figure out where the heck did they put it. Okay, I found it under the settings. Well, it's under the settings. Scale up, scale down. I still don't see auto scale. Okay, but I think. No, okay, not there. We are in that app service plan. Must be my Monday. I am totally not finding things, having a brain dead today. Okay, deploy it under setting. It says under settings. I don't see it there. I don't see it under app service plan, auto scale, Marvel, API, alert, process explorer. Okay, hold on. Okay, all right, it's not, okay, it wasn't under the app, sorry. It is under the monitor option, which they did say that, but I thought it was in the app service. All right, so on the main menu, when you click under the monitor, under the settings, when you open up the monitor, it shows up in the monitor overview blade. Under the settings, you should see auto scale. And so that's the auto scale we're selecting under the settings, auto scale. Okay, so notice that I have, well, this is what I did yesterday. So now we have a auto scale. We're going to find the app service plan we created. Show up here under the auto scale. If you don't see it, let me know. So if we select that, that's where we're going to enable the auto scale in here. You have to enable the auto scale. So when you enable the auto scale, this is where we're going to fill in some stuff here. No matrix rules. We can add rules here. We're going to specify a specific instance count. So we say with this, when other scale condition is matched. So we're selecting scale to specific instance count. And we are choosing instance count is 1. And we're going to add another scale condition. And for that scale condition, we are going to base on a matrix. We are going to add a rule here in the add a rule section. Under add a rule, it's going to come up and say, what rule do we want? This is where we're adding a scale mode is, we set up a default specific instance count. We already did that one. Create a resource profile under that section. We're going to add a scale condition link. That's what we just did. Edit the name of the profile to be, we wanted the matrix resource type, resource group. Those are already in there. We can scroll down and see what we have here. Greater than 70, increment count by 1. So okay, this is where we can create our matrix source. Okay, so this is also, you can change it to a different resource if you want. Time aggregation. And so the scale mode is based on scale mode, on matrix. Scale based on a matrix source. based on a matrix source. Okay, we have time aggregation. So, okay, so we can set up different rules here. Matrix namespace, we're just going to use the CPU percentage. We're just adding this default one here. Operator greater than 70. Action increment count by 1. Cooldown minute is 5. So just adding something here. Add a rule here. So we have something in there to play with. We can do a scale out rules. Scale out rule. When you go into the scale out rule, this is where they want us to set up here. Equal to, we didn't do that. Friday profile. Okay, scale out rule. We're going to get out of that one here. About 1, we're going to add, in a scale out, we're going to add a rule. Okay, add a ruling. And we're going to add matrix source, which we already had. Set the resource type as app service, which is app service, but it's already default there as well. Aggregation, total. Time aggregation as total instead of average. I'm going to change it to total. Operators greater than app service plan standard matrix, CPU percentage. We're down here. Operator greater than threshold as 10. Threshold's only 10. Duration is 5 minutes. Increase count by 1 and cooldown is 5 minutes. Add. So we're adding different things here. I didn't change the name here, but you guys got the idea of what they're doing, right? And you can go into also the schedule. Image to follow with the image to the steps are not perfectly here. So we also can create a scale out rule. We can also create a scale in rule as well. We can change the start time and time. So Pacific days, when we go into Pacific days, you can say, well, we want Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday only. That's only days that are working days. Start time and time. So you guys have an idea that what we're doing here, though, right? I know we're doing, the steps are not perfectly, so you just want to make sure, you're doing scale in and scale out. We're doing different rules here. Well, you can add as many as you want, but at least you create something, so at least you got something to look at it when we're doing these scale in and scale out. You can see that it's a little bit funky. It's not complicated or anything, but it's kind of funky to doing that. Another thing that we are going to go back in and do, so just create something so we have, you guys have an idea how the auto scale is working, how to set up the auto scale. That's something that we need to work a little bit more. And we go back into trigger scale out action. So we can open a browser and navigate back to the web app that we created. So go back to our web app. So I'm just going from app service, go back into your web app. So what we want you to do is we want to show that works or not, go ahead and click that link like 10 times, the URL, because we said it that the setup time is 10. We should have done like 3 or 4. So that's what we're doing here. 5, 6. I go to like 10 or 12. I don't remember. calling it here and talking. I'm gonna make sure I do a couple more extra. 2, C3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'll do under the trigger scale out action, and then go back to the monitor here. Go back to see your, go back under auto scale. Okay, so see in your instance count is 2, service plan. Go back into the monitor auto scale tab. Go back and click on run history. If we do it right, you should see data in here, set up, how many time we have, and the last 1 hour. I don't know, I'm not seeing why, but I don't think I did it right. So, but you got the idea. This is where you go to come and see if we have the auto scale. I'm going to see if I can look at it in the other one. Scale. Okay, settings, run history. Okay, I just say 1 count. So I can go back to that app service. I'm going to try to redo that thing again here to see if I can do it in the 10 times. And I'll go back into my apps, go back into the monitor, go back into my auto scale, see that, and go into the run history. You see, I don't know if my run history is not really growing, but that's supposed to grow. So, see, say no result to display, but well, 7 days. It's 1 day. Okay, but it should work if we did it right for some reason. Maybe I didn't set up correctly. Did anybody able to see something in the run history? Oh, they said it takes about at least 100 minutes. Okay, definitely I'm not waiting for 100 minutes, but you guys got the idea. As I said, in a few minutes the instance count should drop from 2 to 1, and the process takes at least 100 minutes. Okay, definitely we're not waiting for 100 minutes. So that's everything I have for today. Any questions or concerns or burning desires you may have, but just to remind everybody, make sure like I was telling you earlier, make sure you're going to delete all of this out, what you did today, okay? I don't want to hear that, you guys have additional costs because of this session, okay? I will see you guys on Wednesday. You guys need anything, you let me know.
May I just have a quick question on
Yes,
the
please.
alerting part? So you were explaining like alerting part, and if we are sending an alert through the emails, what are the things we need to take care?
Oh, and the alert for email and these are the
Yes.
steps in here. The only things that you have to make sure you know what your email setups are. Hold on, they did do that here, even though we did go all the way because we don't have email set up in here, but go back to that alert thing here. Let me go back to the document. You can see my screen, right? Go back to open that document real quick to show you. Are you guys using Exchange or you're using Outlook email? Do you know what email system you're using?
I'm just
Of,
curious about how to
uh,
send an email
yeah,
alert.
yeah, but are you using Exchange or are you using Outlook?
Now
Office 360.
I try to explore like SendGrid and Azure.
What?
SendGrid option in the Azure to send an emails.
Okay. I mean, I know I can send email, so
Okay.
uh, yeah, I can send email. Hold on. In this part, go back into it. So this is Rosie, but you know your SMTP address to deliver the message to. So do you know your SMTP address in the email when you go into? So under
Okay.
the action section, so go back to that. Okay, so if we were creating, we had new action group. So let's go back to one of these ones I created yesterday, maybe better. Okay, so in Monday to Friday profiled. Okay, so set that up. Time zone, start time, end time, instance count, my resource group. Oh, stupid thing is ringing. Who's trying to call in the middle of the day? Okay, all right, so we were in the action group. Okay, so we could create a new action group and verify that subscription resource group. If not, select record. Okay, under the action section, a name for the action, send email. And create not a skill. We're going to create an action group. No, not here, I think. We create a action group. Okay, add a rule. Try to remember. I know I did that yesterday, but try to. For some reason today it's not working the way I wanted it to work. But anyway, resource. Okay, maybe I have to have something turned on. Is what I'm thinking. Resource. Okay, let's do it. Where do we create action group? Hold on. Let's go. I want to go back and create an action group because it's in the action group you have to do. Hold on. Let me see if I can create action group. I have to look at that. But yeah, you have to know your SMTP. But I want to get at least close to that because I know I can send email back to myself if I have the if I'm doing it. Okay, so under the add an action group, back to looking at here. So okay, so this is defining alert rules. Click it back here. But so this is where we're saying here. All right, so back to create an action group. So we did do all of that, but we create some alert rule name here. So before we go, so this is create alert logic. That's what we just did. And we were trying to do, we did add some alert logic to it. We create trigger based on. So these are things that we did go that far because I was having some problem on that. So go back to a create new alert rule. So let's go back and create new alert rule. Okay, I think easiest to go back and create alert rule to show you. They changed that they changed the panel and I lost all that one. So go back to all services. Okay, under the all services, we go back into our, I need to go to all services. Log analytics. Go back to my log analytics that we created. Okay, under log analytics, we go back into click alert. So go back into alert under monitoring. Okay, so I have one manage alert rules to show you. Okay. I know I was able to do it yesterday. For today I'm running into so much problem, but in here under the action, so see, you can see customize action, email the subject, include. So if we go in and select email subject, it will tell what the subject line is. But this is where you can collect us customize actions. So under the actions, just click actions. So if you click action here, I can create an action group. You with me on that? I already have one. Is it my action? I can create action group and create I have a contact one email one. So if you go into this action group, so let's go back. I want to be able to see this action group. That. So here's my action. So I wanted to show you the action rule. So in the action rule, that's where you have to add the email action. But you can only have one action group for one. So that's where we have to create it. But for some reason today, I can't get into this one here. But if we go in here, create and manage groups in the Azure portal. So this is the one we didn't do, but this is where you can go in and do that. I don't know if you see my screen here. Create and manage action group in the Azure portal, but you have to have your SMTP. Under the alert, select manage actions, add an action group. And this is where we go in and you can set the action name. And we can edit the details here. My notifications. You can say email push voice. And we can edit the details there. The resource group, manager action group. So that's where we have to go to manager action group. But you do have to be careful. Will be sent from the following email addresses. Ensure that your email filter is configured. It will go Azure no reply at Microsoft.com, Azure email no reply, alert no reply mail.windows.azure.com. That's how it's going to go out. You cannot change that.
Okay.
What alert click, and that's how it's going to go out. Okay, so and here you have a limited number of SMS actions, and there is a cost associated with going out. Okay, so you need to make sure the rate limited information SMS alert behavior. So you need to make sure that you know the SMS stuff well. Okay, we can do that. But use this one to see if you can create it, okay, under the action. So we get subscription, go to resource group. We already have resource group. We don't need to. So we are talking add an action group under monitor alerts. So go back to our, okay. Go back to, they want us to go into where? That's not the one. That's what we just did also. That's not the one we want. Create and manage action group. So this is where you need to set up action name. So you have notifications and you can decide which type you want. So see if you can do this one. Manage action groups in the Azure portal. So that's a document pretty much the same area that we were doing, but I can put that in the chat for you.
Yeah. I will try to set up this and I will get back to you if I have any questions.
Yeah, let me know. I'm going to try later too. I just have
because my queries here is like we have to set up the SMTP setup first of all, and what kind of SMTP servers, whether we can use our own SMTP servers to send an email.
Of course.
Yeah.
Try it, but make sure that you got your SMTP. But keep in mind also that if you're using not Microsoft, that there's a cost associated with those, right? When they send emails out.
Yes, yeah.
If you're using any third party, you know how Microsoft goes, right? Everything is pay as you go, so be careful with that. But keep me posted. You have my email too, right? Let me know. You don't have to wait till Wednesday. Tell me if you need me to research further to make sure you have it working. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, man.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you so
Everybody,
much.
yeah, thank you. Everybody, I'll
Hey,
see you
hey, May.
guys. Yes.
Hey, May, I have a quick question. So, can we reschedule the training from Wednesday to Thursday? We have a holiday on
Oh, yeah, no worry.
Wednesday in
I'm
India.
open every day though this week morning for you guys. All the morning is for you guys. You just tell me when and where, and I'll show up.
Sure, I think Brandy just sent out an email. So
Yeah,
we have a holiday
just let
on
Martha
Wednesday.
know.
So,
But uh-huh.
okay,
I'm good. You guys have a holiday, or is that?
it's a holiday on Wednesday in India. In India.
Okay. Can I join that holiday too? I can be in
Sure.
India too. Come on. Why not? Hey, Burma is very close to India. I was born in Burma. So, so
Sure, yeah. You can take a
I
holiday
can
as
be
well.
in India. I'm pretty, I'm pretty flexible. All right. Well, you guys have a good time. I have no problem Thursday. I'll let Martha know. I don't think Martha will have any problem either, because not like, I mean, she just, she's pretty flexible just like me. So, well, have a good holiday then. Enjoy, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Anything that you guys tested I'm sorry I didn't catch your name. Who was testing the SMS thing, SMTP thing? Let me know. Okay.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. You're welcome. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of the day and stay out of trouble. It's only
Thanks, man.
Monday.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.